panel is number 17 that we've hosted since we started the COVID-19 stay at home and various ramifications of this pandemic we've been dealing with. This panel is sponsored by the City of Steamboat Springs and Routt County in partnership with the Steamboat Pilot in Today. My name is Lisa Slitchman and I'm the editor of the newspaper. And today our panel is going to be focused on how COVID-19 is affecting our local agricultural and ranching communities. And so I want to introduce our panelists and get on to the questions. And we have had quite a few sent in by readers and members of the community. So first up, we have Todd Hagenbuch, Routt County Extension Director. We have Michele Meyer, the Executive Director of the Community Agricultural Alliance. We have Patrick Stanko, a local rancher with Stanko Ranch. We have Mark Berkley, owner of Innovative Ag Colorado. And we have Justin Warren, a rancher and a representative with Superior Livestock Auctions. So thank you guys so much for being here. And let's begin by having each of you tell us, kind of introduce yourself to the audience. Tell us about yourself, your organization, or your business. So Todd, we'll start with you.
Thank you, Lisa. Appreciate being on in this opportunity to talk about agriculture to your listeners. Todd Hagenbuch with CSU Extension. CSU Extension is one of the three stool legs from CSU. We do education on campus, research, and then bring that research out into the community. So gardening, agriculture, and horticulture tend to be my areas of expertise. Libby Christensen in our office does health, nutrition, and food safety. And then Tammy Eggers oversees our 4-H program. Many people are familiar with 4-H. That is a program of extension, but really what we're here to do is to help bring out that research and education about a myriad of different topics to the public, and in this case, agriculture in particular.
Thank you, Todd. Michele, why don't you tell us about the Community Ag Alliance, please?
Sure, thanks so much. And to echo Todd's comments, thanks for hosting this and the city for being involved as well. We really appreciate the opportunity. I'm the Executive Director of Community Agriculture Alliance. We're a small nonprofit organization that's been around since 1999. Our mission is to promote and support local agriculture. The organization started in very different times, working to make sure agriculture was always a vibrant part of our community as the community has grown and changed. That mission remains the same. Our programs have kind of changed over the years. In the last 5 years, we've taken a leadership role for local food and really worked to provide a direct-to-consumer connection for local food producers. That's just one of our programs. Organizationally, we also work to provide support to ag producers. We work very closely with the Extension Office to provide education programs. We also work to bring resources to our ag producers as much as we can. We've also taken a leadership role around water education, working closely with the Yampa White Green Basin Roundtable and providing outreach and education to agriculture on water education. And then we also try and provide connections for people who maybe live in town who don't know a lot about agriculture to create experiences and education about what is agriculture in the Yampa Valley, and in a broader sense, kind of learning about agriculture, its history, and its importance in the community.
Thank you, Michele. We're hearing a little feedback. We're trying to figure out where that's coming from, so bear with us a bit. Next up, Patrick, please tell us about yourself and your ranch.
Yes, so I'm Patrick Stanko. I'm a 4th-generation rancher from in the valley from Steamboat Springs. We have a Century Ranch that's been in the family for over 100 years. We're a cow-calf operation, and the ranch is just located right across from Heritage Park is where our meadow is, and that's where we're at.
Thank you. Mark, tell us a little bit about yourself and Innovative Ag.
Well, I'm an accidental farmer. Started out as a hobby and kind of grew from there, blew up after getting in contact with Michele Meyer over at Ag Alliance. And so we're a 4-season microgreen mushroom and edible flower farm that was serving Routt, Eagle, and Summit counties.
Thank you very much. And Justin, tell us about yourself and what you.
My name is Justin Warren, part of a fifth generation ranch here in Routt County. I've grown up in Florida, cow-calf operations in Florida, then moved out here and part of the multi-generation ranch here. Also a representative of Superior Livestock Auction. We're an online satellite auction. So instead of taking your cattle to the livestock sale barns, we sell them virtual straight out of your pastures. So that's kind of the new age marketing that's come attrition pretty good. So
Very good. Thank you guys all for being here. So let's just dive right in. So we know the seasons dictate ranching. So how has the new COVID-19 season impacted you and your ranch, and what are some of those challenges? So Justin, let's begin with you. How have you guys been impacted by COVID-19?
You know, COVID has not really affected the way we're ranching right now. All of our marketing is done in the fall. So we're still on track doing what we do. We've had our calving season. We just finished up calving season. We get into branding, get in and start irrigating, and then get into the summer with our hay season. So everything's still on track. The way we do think, the way we ranch, we're doing it just as normal. We're not changing anything up as of right now.
Thank you. Patrick, how about you?
Just like Justin said, you know, the ranch has its schedule and it's going to keep going no matter what is going on. You know, the cows are calving right now. We're coming to branding. That's where we've had one impact, is trying to get supplies for branding and figuring out how to get everybody to come help us brand, because it's a labor intensive process to brand. And so we need people there to work the calf tables or hold the calves and be a little close to each other. So it's gonna be hard to do social distancing. So we'll have to figure that one out. But beyond that, it just is normal operation as the way it goes.
Thank you. Todd, is there anything you'd add to that?
No, but I would say, Lisa, that this is a question I get a lot, is how are your ranchers doing? And I say they're quarantined this time of year anyway, from, you know, April 1st to July 1st. They don't see each other. They don't see anybody but the mama cows are calving out, or the backs of their shovels, or you know, the fence fixing tools. So that's always a good question. But I think it's status quo on the farm for most folks.
And that's good. And I think that goes to, you know, we do have a diverse group of people living here in Steamboat. And I think this is a great opportunity to educate people about ranching life, because I do think there are people that don't, you know, they see things on TV. And yeah, so thank you guys for being here. And Mark, I didn't have you on this, but is there anything you'd like to add about how it's impacted you, or has it?
This thing was pretty devastating for us. We were heavily dependent on restaurants. You know, we were in over 60 restaurants in 3 counties. And, you know, the day before the lockdown, all of our customers, it was our wash and harvest day, and all of our customers canceled at once. So we were sitting on a massive amount of product, lost a lot of money. And then, you know, that kind of snowballs down into, you know, us being able to pay our bills and that kind of thing. So yeah, we're now having to move off of our current site to a new spot that Michele assisted in helping us find. So thanks again, Michele. So yeah, it's been pretty good, or a pretty big hit on us. And also moving forward, I don't think the demand for the niche products are going to be quite the same.
Okay. And you know, and something else on the next, are these changes, Mark, that you've had to make because you've had to pivot pretty quickly? Are these changes permanent? Do you see your business, you know, building back up when restaurants open and things get back to normal?
Well, from the chefs that we talked to, we actually have a few that work with us. You know, they come play with us. And you know, like I said, the niche products really aren't going to be as in demand. Everybody is going to be kind of doing the baseline products, so they're not going to be spending a lot, you know, of extra money on, you know, garnishes or whatnot. So, and obviously with us moving, we're moving to the iDesign lot in South Routt. all this, we're moving to, a new greenhouse, everything is changing for us. So this is a complete overhaul of our entire operation.
Thank you. Michele, how has the COVID-19 pandemic changed how you guys do business at Community Ag Alliance and your marketplace? And maybe it hasn't changed anything, but if it has, how has it changed? And are these changes temporary or permanent?
Really good question. And I apologize. I think the background noise is the market is going on in our office right now, and I'm trying to hide in the corner, but you can still hear customers coming in and out. So I don't know where else to go besides outside. So sorry, it's part of what's going on. In terms of changes, I think we are offering delivery, which we've never done before. We are also offering curbside pickup for local food orders. And we've expanded our hours so that customers have more time to come in and shop. It's one person at a time. We're not a big physical space. So at this point, we're trying to respond as much as we can with both the customers and the producers in mind.
And how is demand for at the market? Is it increased?
4-timefold. It has increased so much. The first week I thought this is the biggest week we've ever had in terms of sales of local food. It can't get any bigger. And then it got bigger, and then it got bigger. So it's wonderful. Kind of one of those strange silver linings of this crisis and pandemic is that there's a lot of interest in local food. We probably have 10 to 20 new people every week just walking in to learn more about who we are and what we do. We're happy to help tell the story about local food and share what's happening in the Valley with agriculture.
Thank you. Let's see, Todd, has COVID-19 had any impact on the Extension Office and what you do?
Quite a bit, Lisa. And let me say first, the 4-H program. Of course, this is a time of year when our youth are getting in their livestock projects. We've weighed in beef projects in late January, but we should be weighing in our pigs, our goats, and our sheep next Monday and Tuesday for their projects, which of course would culminate at the Routt County Fair in August. But this is really the start of that livestock season for those kids, and we've had to cancel all those in-person events, all of our in-person club meetings, our education programs as it relates to 4-H youth. So that's been a pretty dramatic change for our kids as they've gone to online schooling and everything else. 4-H is one of those things that we hope would be a normal, kind of add some normalcy to their lives. But even that has changed. Hopefully they're able to continue with a lot of their home arts projects, and they're continuing with their livestock projects. It just looks a little different, and they're not getting to have that weigh in and be able to calculate rate of gain. And so they'll be missing out a little of that educational component that comes along with raising an animal. We've had to move cottage food classes where we train people how to produce some of the products that they can market on Michele's Ag Marketplace. We've had to move all that training online. We have our Evenings with the Master Gardeners is typically a big event that we co-host with the Bud Warner Library. We moved that from a 1-night in-person session to a 4-night weekly series over the last 4 weeks. So it's changed a lot how we deliver education. Thankfully, though, what's really neat is to see how we're also able to expand those offerings and then take advantage of other extension offices, their offerings as well. Libby Christensen offered a cottage food training that was picked up by people all across the state. And conversely, where typically people have had to come into the office and do that on our time when we offer that, we've had cottage food trainings from across the state that our people have taken part in. We had folks from Boulder County, Rio Grande County, Summit County join us for the Evenings with the Master Gardeners that if we'd done a traditional event, they wouldn't have driven here from the San Luis Valley for sure for that program. So it's changed the way we're thinking about things, the way we're delivering programs, and some of it in this paradigm shift will really benefit extension and hopefully our clients well into the future.
Just a little follow-up. So is some of this changing to that virtual, is that going to be a permanent change, do you think?
I anticipate some of it will be, Lisa. I think you can't put a value on the in-person things we do. There are things like site visits, going out to people's farms, ranches, or yards and gardens, small acreages that I can't do right now because social distancing protocol and CSU rules are precluding me from doing that. You can't replace those things with a virtual online format. But some of our group education opportunities that we really can expand the audience that we offer that to, I anticipate that it will forever change the way Extension offers those sorts of things and really make us more relevant into the future.
Fantastic. Another silver lining. So those are good to find. And you and Justin and Patrick, I was going to ask you the same question, but I think you kind of told me right now the COVID-19 really hasn't changed how you guys are doing business. Is that what I understood?
As far as the ranching aspect, it's not changing. I don't think the way we do business, except as we get into the summer months with my other job with Superior Livestock Auction, we do a lot of forward contracting on cattle. So we'll market the cattle June or July, September, and August, or all the way through, and then for deliveries in October and November, December. So what we're looking at right now is where the markets are, and if they're going to come back, and where we normally forward contract right now. Some people are trying to decide maybe we'll start selling a little bit further out, closer to delivery time versus forward months out.
And just like what Justin said, I think it's the market is going to be driving the local producers and what they're going to decide to do. The uncertainty of the markets, uncertainty of, we're a cow-calf operation, so we sell our calves in October, usually through the open market. So now we're going to have to look at, we're going to hold them till November, December, to when that market comes back, to make it, not a profit, but at least where we can pay the bills.
Thank you. That makes sense. So we have had a lot of questions about all the news about, what's going on with many of the meat processing, packing plants, JBS and Greeley, where due to COVID-19 positive cases, they've had to shut down. I know now they're reopening with mitigation plans. So I guess people really want to know how this, or if it has affected the Yampa Valley. So again, I guess I'd go to Patrick and Justin on that one. Justin, do you want to take that one first?
As far as the plant closures and plant slowdowns we're not seeing the delay. We're getting the supply into our grocery stores and everything. You're seeing the chain speeds have slowed down in packing plants because 40% of their product is all going to the restaurant industry, so they're not selling out that, so they're having to slow down their chain speed. And then with like the JBS and Greeley and a few other plants having a larger amounts of COVID cases in there, to having shut down, go through and do cleaning. JBS, the Greeley plant, opened back up a week and a half ago, I do believe. They've been going back, and this week we're starting to see volume ramp up a little bit in the packing plant industry. In the larger packing plants, we're starting to see their volume of interest go back up a little bit more.
Patrick, is there anything you would add to that?
I don't see much, that like I said, Justin said that they're about change management, because, wasn't going to the restaurants. What I do see is maybe a few of the producers asking questions about how to get into the local market right now. They're trying to see if their business model will work, if they have a few steers ready in the fall that they could have processed and bring into the local market. So there's a little bit more interest, I think, of looking in that to bring some food locally here. But beyond that, it hasn't really affected us.
Okay, thank you. Mark, let's go to you. And you kind of touched on this, but how are you selling your products now, and how has COVID-19 changed that?
Well, once the lockdown happened, another local producer, Colby Townsend over at Hayden Fresh Farm, reached out to me to team up on a farm stand. And so we've been doing that on, we just started Fridays, Saturday mornings at Moe's Barbecue, and then sometimes over in Hayden on Sunday. And we've been able to move a fair amount of product. With Ag Alliance is awesome, the savior on this end. So our sales ramped up big time on that one. But those are the two main avenues. And while we're, it's probably just about right with what we're having to do with moving and everything right now. But I think direct to consumer, not being so heavily dependent on restaurants going forward, we're really going to try to push that.
Yeah, that diversifying a bit. Yeah, I think everyone's learning that right now. Michele, could you tell us more about the Ag Alliance Marketplace and what is available and, what maybe has changed recently?
Sure. Similar to Mark, strange timing, we moved right before the shutdown happened to a new office. Again, another silver lining, we've got a lot more space. So we're in the old Photo Express house now on the corner of 8th and Oak, and have about 1,000 square feet for our offices and the local food market. With that, as we've been able to expand the physical space, we have a little more space for kind of what we consider walk-in shopping. So the market was originally set up to be all online ordering, so an online farmer's market, but we've shifted that model even more so now to offer walk-in shopping, and Friday is one of the days. So again, sorry for the additional noise, but I'm hiding in the corner as much as I can. So that anyone can walk in on Wednesday, Thursday, Fridays to see what we have here in the office. And again, it's limited, and shop for local food. We still really encourage people to pre-order. So going onto the website, choosing from over 300 products that are listed from different producers, ordering that on the website, and then they come into the office on Tuesdays to pick it up. So our role really is still that kind of middleman role, in terms of the producers list whatever they have. It changes week to week. So what Mark may be growing this week may change to different varieties of produce next week. What kind of beef a producer may have, they may sell out of ribeye steaks and only have sirloin steaks, or whatever the case may be. So that walk-in shopping is kind of a newer thing for us. Again, with the COVID pandemic, it's one person at a time, social distancing, kind of adhering to all the regulations that we have here. Adding the delivery, as I mentioned earlier, is something new for us. We're adding curbside pickup as well. So people can call when they're coming to pick up their order. We'll have it ready for them, and then we'll leave it on the porch so we can minimize contact. Again, just trying to be responsive to that. The other piece of it, kind of on the producer side, is really, as Patrick mentioned, is reaching out to some new producers. So we've spent some time reaching out to maybe more traditional ranchers in the community to see if they might be interested in shifting their model of production a little bit to sell some meat locally, where in the past they haven't done that. The interest is here. If it was as easy as just someone saying yes, that would be wonderful. It's a little more complicated in terms of when that steer, or if it's lamb or whatever, pork is ready to be processed, and then making sure there's processing available. As Justin mentioned, there can be bottlenecks with the processors, USDA processors that we have. So getting that meat directly to the consumer is not as quick and easy as people may think. We're not a grocery store. It's not instant. So there's time for producers to shift those models. I think a big piece of what we're trying to do is build interest in local food for the long term. It's great to be able to respond right now and see an increased sales for the producers. When I say it's increased fourfold, that's not to really benefit Ag Alliance. That's 4 times the sales back to Mark and the 50 plus other producers that list and sell on the marketplace. But we really want to try and encourage folks to do this in the long term. So in 6 weeks from now, in 6 months from now, and 6 years from now, that they're still seeking out local food, and that interest remains and continues, with really the ultimate goal of keeping folks in agriculture, whether that's growing microgreens or raising cattle and maybe selling a few of them locally, or whatever their product may be.
Thank you. That's so interesting. And so do you think that this, the pain of going to the grocery store now, the lack of certain food that you want, do you think that will ultimately be a permanent change, that people start really looking and valuing local food more?
I certainly hope so. I think so. One of the benefits of, again, a silver lining of the pandemic is because we're one customer at a time, we really get a chance to talk with folks and talk about what they're looking for, what type of products they're looking for. There's a great education opportunity when someone walks in and says, "Do you have any tomatoes?" And we kind of talk about our 59-day growing season in the Valley. And we talk about when those tomatoes might be available if someone has a greenhouse. So I think part of that education about where your food comes from, the interest in people wanting to learn more about where their food comes from, and educating people about what's available here in the Valley is beneficial for everyone, the consumers and the producers. So I'm very hopeful that it will continue long term. On the producer side, again, I think organizationally, we're really looking at where's the bottlenecks, where's the challenges for our local producers, and how can we help bring resources together? Again, our name is Community Ag Alliance. So how can we create alliances to maybe help our beef producers when they have culled cows or when they have steers they want to sell? How can we help with that process in some way so that there is more variety of product, a consistent supply? Again, it's not easy answers. These are challenges Todd knows a lot about, Justin knows about, Patrick does, that have been going on for a long time in the Valley. I think with the interest now, we're ripe kind of as a community to start to support our local food system a little bit more and maybe invest in it.
Great, thank you. Todd, the next question for you, and you kind of answered it. So, but how have your activities and programs changed as a result of COVID-19, which you already addressed, but also maybe, are you getting different requests than you had prior to COVID-19 for information and support?
Lisa, it was interesting at the onset, we had some very interesting questions related to food safety. We always get food safety questions, but people were all of a sudden concerned about the products they were getting at the grocery store. And if somebody coughed on them, how do they properly sanitize those things of that nature that we hadn't really dealt with at that level before. What's interesting now is that starting last week, it is springtime in the extension office, which means as we've been on, the phone is ringing off the hook. And it is right now, actually. Thank goodness it's on silent. But people have their typical gardening, small acreage questions. I will say the gardening interest, not only in Routt County, but across the country, is increasing dramatically. And what an odd time for us to have our master gardeners not being able to go on site visits and answer questions in the offices they typically have. So we've got them doing more voicemails, more emails, things of that nature to try to answer people's questions, because people really want to get back in the dirt. They understand that these supply chains that Justin's been talking about for both meat products and our fresh fruits and vegetables are very specific. And when there's a link in that chain that's broken, things go awry. But if you grow it yourself, people know that they can insulate themselves a bit from the challenges that food system linkage create. So hopefully people will be growing more, and hopefully we'll be able to continue to answer their questions in whatever new ways we can. And it's kind of exciting.
Very much. Yeah. I actually just sent my husband to Ace to get supplies to build me some raised beds. So yeah,
And you're in good company, Lisa.
Okay. Thank you. So Mark, the name of your business is Innovative Ag. So obviously you've been very innovative. And so, what I assume maybe COVID-19 has kind of forced your hand a bit to even get more innovative. You've talked about moving to a new location. So what are some things you're looking ahead to?
Well, so anybody who's been to my site knows that this is kind of nothing new. Going outside the box, we're now having to though do some longer term crops that we haven't done before, and of course I can't do that in a normal way. I have to put my own spin on it. So we're I've got a few concepts we're working on there. We've I'm trying to really close loops. I have a second company, Innovative Regeneration, so innovative ag's like farm to table, and then innovative regeneration is table back to farm. So it's waste to energy. So we're doing composting. We take city markets, produce waste, that kind of thing. So we're trying to close loops, build the compost, and also with all that, use things like compost heat to heat our greenhouses and that kind of thing. So it's kind of circular. You get CO2 from the compost, pipe that into the greenhouse. You get increased plant growth, that kind of thing. So we're doing all that we can, and there's a lot of other innovative people out there. I'm not really coming up with anything new. All the YouTubers out there and Pinteresters and whatnot, you get all these ideas, and it's like a Lego land. You take different pieces of people's Legos and make your own, and so it's actually more play for me than anything. But we're also trying to come up with new partnerships. Whether it's we've worked with the education CMC and the high school and different things like that, and we're trying to build on those and get more people involved with this new site. It's a blank canvas, so I'm trying to get a lot of people, whoever wants to play, to come out and play with us. Maybe get a community garden going down there, where Chris Zuschler had one years ago. So I always try to look at things as a positive when you turn them. And this is like the time to get the Etch a Sketch and start the picture over. So there's a lot of different things, but as far as solving problems, it's kind of what I do. So or what we do. So we have fun doing it. So we're going to come up with some new interesting concepts that people can come out and see.
Fantastic. Thank you. Let's see. Todd, are there, for anyone involved in the ag community ranching, who maybe would be facing some difficult times at some point, are there resources and support available? I don't know if there's anything with the stimulus packages that are coming out at the federal level. What can you tell us about that?
That's kind of a moving target. There are things, of course, changing every day kind of on that subject. Small Business Agency or Administration recently came out with their a new part of their economic injury disaster loan program. They've opened that up for agriculture. I shared there with some of the folks on this call. It's like a lot of those things, going through the hoops may be more difficult than what you get out of it. But of course, that's for each producer to understand and to work through. But they've upfronted some money that's available for people to try to pay some of their employees, make payroll, things of that nature. And so hopefully that will help some folks. As always, things in the Farm Bill, the Farm Bill is always difficult to get through Congress. And although it is one of the few pieces of legislation that always has bipartisan support, it'll be interesting to see how this pandemic changes in the future Farm Bills. The 2018 Farm Bill, of course, having been passed, we know what's in that. It'd be interesting to see if there's any wiggle room in that to provide more disaster funding for our farms and ranches right now. But I know that there have been any number of ag organizations who have been calling for increased level of spending in safety net instead of upfront dollars, but a safety net, providing more of that safety net. And it'll be interesting to see if this pandemic changes that conversation for the next Farm Bill. So that, of course, all remains to be seen, Lisa, but it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. I would note too, though, that not from a money standpoint, but some of the education that we're trying to provide. Our website has some, I don't know if we want to call them fact sheets, but some information sheets for folks like Patrick was talking about. How do you manage a branding in a time of social distancing? We've worked with Colorado Livestock Association and Colorado Cattlemen's Association to put forward a white paper on kind of best practices for processing cattle in a time of social distancing, things of that nature that that the groups have come together with, and we're trying to educate our ranchers with.
Great. Michele, how about you guys at the Ag Alliance? Are there programs or things you are doing trying to support your members, people in the agricultural community?
Yeah, again, interesting timing. That's kind of been a theme here. Last December, Community Ag Alliance Board started a microloan program. This was before the pandemic kind of became such a national and global issue. And we received a $10,000 contribution from a local funder, and then we're able to loan that out to some ag producers. The timing was really interesting. All of that kind of got approved and happened right in the beginning of March as things were happening. So we were working to fundraise, which is a little bit of a challenge right now, specifically for that micro loan program. And it's a difficult one because I certainly would not want to be the person that tries to take away from COVID relief funding that the community is doing, but kind of balancing that, trying to fundraise to get more funds into that micro loan fund so that we can help support our local producers. That decision is made by our board, which are all local farmers and ranchers and consumers from the Routt County and Moffat County communities. So that money is raised here locally, stays here in terms of a low or no interest loan back to some producers. We were able to loan out almost the full $10,000 to 3 different producers through that cycle. Again, if we can fundraise through this summer, hopefully we'll have another cycle for that. With kind of an eye towards COVID relief, impacts to local producers. The other program that I know about that's not an Ag Alliance program, but through the state Colorado Farm and Food System, they just sent out last week kind of a COVID relief special funding for small local producers. So it's for producers with sales, I think, of under $100,000. And I know several local producers that did apply for that. We've worked to get that word out to people that we work with. And that money, I think, will start flowing within the next week or two. And that was specifically related to COVID relief funding. Other than that, we kind of refer a lot of folks to the extension website and to those kind of white papers and fact sheets about good practices, staying safe. Another partner that we work with is, I mentioned this earlier, the Yampa White Green Basin Roundtable around water education and outreach. There is some funding, not specific to COVID there, but again, for farmers and ranchers around irrigation, around water management practices. There's resources on their website. And again, kind of a lot of our role is helping get that information out. I think anymore it can be overwhelming. All the different loan programs and resources that are out there. So we try and be a little more targeted on what we think local producers could benefit from.
Thank you, Michele. Patrick and Justin, we'll get you back in the conversation. So, and I guess one thing I'm hearing that is good to hear is that you guys, are not as impacted as maybe people had thought directly by COVID-19, but we know that, ranching, especially in multi-generations, can be tough at times. So how do you guys kind of get through that? What are your philosophies? What do you do to get through those tougher times? Maybe droughts or a drop in beef prices. So let's go ahead. Patrick, let's start with you.
Okay. I think it helps to have some heritage there because, I know that my grandparents went through the Depression and survived here. My mom and dad bought the ranch in 1970, right when, the inflation hit and the gas embargo hit. So just having some of that heritage to know that we can do it and make through it, and then you just have the work that just keeps you going. That's how you it's how we stay positive about it. And you just you do this work though because you love the land and you love to do the work. You don't, to get out and be with the animals and do the fence and that. So that's what keeps you positive and going.
Thank you. Justin, how about you?
Yeah, that's pretty much kind of what Patrick said. I mean, we're mainly in this industry for the love of the industry. I mean, we're out here like one of our biggest times of the year is our hardest time of year, but calving season. I mean, we love calving season. We strive for calving season. What you see, what you're raising your product, starting your product out right there, and then getting it all the way through to February or to November, whenever we're marketing them, everything. But yeah, we've been through a lot of ups and downs in the industry over the centuries. I mean, like Patrick said, with his grandparents starting it out and going through the Dust Bowl and everybody else, we've seen stuff. I mean, 2015 was a big deal in the cattle industry with the prices went way up and then they've just plummeted down. And a lot of, in fact, I've seen a lot of businesses go out of business also because of the price fall and everything. I mean, we made it through the 84 dairy buyout. We're making it through. We keep persevering and make it through, and we'll kind of live to fight another day.
If you guys don't mind, I think again, there's a lot of people that if they live in the city, they've never, they don't understand what you guys deal with. Can you share some of, the challenges, the kinds of ins and outs for people to give them a little glimpse of kind of what you guys do day to day? And maybe putting you on the spot, Patrick.
Well, I mean, there's always a season with ranching or farming, right? There's a season, right? So you start off in the spring season where you have your calving season. And then it moves right into the next season. So you don't even get a chance to think about what happened. You just go into the next season of haying and fixing fences and getting the cows off to the summer pasture and spraying weeds. And then you go right into the fall season where you're bringing everybody else back in and, sorting out the calves and weaning and figuring out when you're going to ship those calves off to market and get your cows ready for the winter. And then winter, we start feeding, and then it just starts over again. I mean, it's a cycle that way that just continues. So is that answering your question?
It does. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's good for people that have not been, have any ties to ranching or ag to understand that. Justin, is there anything else you'd add to that?
No, it's like Patrick said. I mean, it's a nonstop cycle. You go from one season to the next season. I mean, then you have to deal with the elements. We start calving in April. Most people start calving in April. I'm not from around the valley. I do things a little different. I start calving the 1st of March. And I mean, my first calf hit the ground 20 below night. So it was kind of, you're out there with the cattle, watching them all throughout the evenings. And when you got these storms come in, I mean, you got to be out there taking care of them. We caretake our cattle to the utmost extreme. I mean, we put them before we put our own health a lot of the times doing things. So, I mean, then we'll roll right over here. I mean, then we'll have to get in here and start dealing with if we're going to have enough moisture to irrigate for the whole season. I mean, there's always a factor happening. We just keep going at it. And there's a lot of different elements we'll face throughout the whole thing.
Thank you. Yes.
Can I add to that?
You sure can.
One of the things I think that people struggle with so much right now with COVID-19 and this pandemic as businesses is that it disrupted their plan, and that they're all able to look forward and pretty much project what's going to happen with their business. Ranchers, Mark, whether you're doing any sort of agricultural item, you've got these things thrown at you all the time. Whether it's you're calving and a storm comes through that you didn't know, and so you lose baby calves. You have a disease that comes through. Not to get political, but wolves are reintroduced, and now you've got extra predators. The market, well, let's say then during the summer, you get drought, another thing that's thrown at you that ruins your plan. And then when you have your product, you don't go and say to the buyer, this is what my product is worth. This is what I put into it. You're told on the spot, this is what you're going to get. So these guys are resilient, and this is just one of those other things that's thrown them a myriad of things every year that they just can't plan for. And I think that's what separates these guys from most businesses.
That is great perspective. Great perspective. So you guys have that built-in resilience that I think, like you say, some businesses now are having to figure out. Yeah. Can I ask, and this is kind of off the cuff too. So is there, do you feel that ranchers in the Yampa Valley are different than ranchers elsewhere? Do you feel that you all are more resilient? Is it different than, ranching? My husband's family had cattle ranch in Missouri. So, how is ranching in the Yampa Valley different? If you guys could answer that, Patrick, Justin, and Todd. Let's start.
So I'll start with it a little bit. I come from Florida, born and raised in a cow-calf operation in Florida. Ranching is totally different than what we don't get the hard winters down there. We don't have to feed. We don't have to feed all the time. I mean, we put hay up to sell hay. We can graze cattle most of the time throughout the winter down there. I mean, you're calving in warm weather. You're not having all the issues as everybody portrays. The biggest issue you might have to deal with is an alligator catching hold of a calf or something. So, but that doesn't happen there as much as everybody thinks it does. So, but then as I've moved west. I've moved to Texas. I've been to Kansas. I've seen ranching aspects completely different until I moved out here to Yampa Valley, where I figured there's a reason why this is yearling country. Why are we running cow-calf operations out here? But I see that happen all the time. It's a year-round job. I mean, you're working. You're like Patrick said a minute ago. You're getting your calves on the ground. Then you're going into hay season. You're putting up all the hay you can to feed the cattle for 180 days. You're feeding cattle essentially for 180 days a year on snow. So, I mean, that's a big perspective. I mean, big difference from what I grew up doing in Florida.
Thank you. Patrick, what do you think makes you guys different here in the Yampa Valley?
Well, I mean, it's the seasons, and everybody's going to have their different seasons. As Justin just talked about in Florida, I mean, they didn't really feed their cows. We got to feed the cows here. So that's where the difference is as you go to the different ranches through the different states, is how their seasons change, and they have to adapt to what's given to them through the environment and the land. I mean, so that's really the big difference for us. Maybe one of the little challenges that we have here is being in the resort community. We have a lot of people come in, which is also a great opportunity for us to educate them what we do here. So, but I mean, one of the challenges is moving cows while there's a bike race going on, or trying to move hay equipment. So it's just got to work as a community that we have to understand what we're all doing here.
Thank you. Todd, would you add anything?
The only thing I'd add, Lisa, is that ranching and farming is very different as you move across the country. I'm fortunate to be pretty active in some national organizations. I will tell you that farmers and ranchers, no matter how different their farms and ranches are, they're a tenacious lot, and they're strong people. I will say that's their Achilles heel, though, as well. We've been facing depressed prices, beef and all the other commodities the last couple of years. Dairy has been slammed the last couple of years. This is really going to hurt them. And this same tenacity and strong ethic that these people have also means that they're not as likely to ask for help if they need it. And that concerns me, because the incidence of mental health issues in our rural areas is increasing, especially in our farm and ranch community, because they don't tend to ask for help, and we don't have the resources in rural America to help them out either. So I think while we're different, we're all much the same, and I hope that we can lean on one another throughout this issue, like we have others, to get through it.
Thank you. So we're down to our last question. A lot of people want to help if they can, to support the local agricultural community. So that is kind of my last question. Let's start with Michele. Are there things that residents can do to support our local producers?
Sure. Two quick, easy answers. Buy local products. And whether that's through the Community Ag Alliance Market, or it's a 4-H auction, whatever that may look like this year, or it's a neighbor down the street or down the road. Seek out, find, buy local products. Every sale makes a difference. I am hopeful that this increased interest in local food will encourage more producers to diversify and sell direct to consumer. It's not the easiest thing to do, but hopefully more of them will consider doing that. Also, if people have the financial ability to contribute to the microloan fund that Community Ag Alliance manages, that's a great way. That money goes right back out to our local producers, not to be so self-serving, but that's a great way if people want to donate. And then I think the last point I said 2, and now I'm adding 3, is to educate yourself, to learn about our heritage of farming and ranching, to understand where your food comes from, to appreciate a local agriculture. To Patrick's point, you know, if you're someone who lives in town and loves to ride on the gravel roads around our community, learn about the ranches that you're riding past. Say hello to the folks if they're out irrigating or they're spraying weeds. Engage with folks, make it a conversation. As Patrick said, I think we're all in this together, whether it's the pandemic or the long haul as our community. So I kind of put that education back on all of us.
Thank you. Justin, what could residents do to support our local ranchers and ag community?
That'd be a good question. I mean, supporting the local rancher, there's not going to be a lot we can, educating yourself of what we do. That's our number one. That's the number one goal. I mean, there's a lot of misconceptions on how we treat cattle and how we handle everything that is just false, pretty much. I mean, we take more care of our cattle, like I just made a comment. We take more care of our cattle and how we do things than we do our own selves and our own families most of the time. I mean, so that's my biggest deal. Just learn the true facts about stuff. Don't hear hearsay and think that's what it is when it's not really that way.
Thank you. Next, Patrick. What would you add to how people can support ranching or the local ag community?
Again, I think it's going to come back to the education and understanding the heritage. I mean, I know a lot of the people come here and it's a really great community to be in because we're a community. Well, that all came from our heritage, and it's from the agricultural heritage that, you know, they used to have dances at the old one-room schoolhouses and come together for that. And anything that happened, you used to come together. You know, my grandfather and dad talk about the thrashing crews that used to come through when we raised a lot of wheat here, and about just that community, and just to understand that we are all just a community. We all have different views, but the ranchers and the farmers in this area were the original land stewards, and what they see is because of that, because of what they produced in the land and why they like coming here. So just to have that understanding and that general, you know, acceptance of that we're actually doing something good here for everybody.
Thank you. Mark, how about you? What could residents do to support you and local ag?
I think letting the bigger grocery stores know that they'd like to see their the products that are produced locally sold where they can get it locally. We spend a lot of time and money getting harmonized GAP certified, which is good agricultural practices, good handling practices. And, you know, it's a pretty intensive process, so we could get into the grocery stores and whatnot, but we were completely shut out. And, you know, we'd been, you know, from all the bigger, you know, distributors and that kind of thing. So it was really, you know, it's a big hindrance for local agriculture to, you know, to get bigger unless, you know, you have some kind of aggregate. You know, even when this happened, when this started, you know, the shelves were bare in the produce section, and, you know, I know the you know, the produce managers, and I can't, you know, I still couldn't get it in because it's a corporate thing. So it would be nice, you know, if folks called up, you know, their you know, local grocery stores, and, you know, get the message passed up. It's like, hey, maybe a local, you know, section for local produce or local products or something like that. I think that would be big, because it's kind of a catch-22. You know, you don't have enough producers to fill a lot of need, but then you can't get the producers if you can't get into the markets. So, you know, I think, you know, just on my simple understanding of things, and the distribution of things, I think it would cut down on a lot of issues. and whatnot. So I think that would be a great way to support, to get our local products into our grocery stores.
Thank you, Mark. Todd, what would you add?
I'll sound like a broken record, but it's interesting how we've all tied back to the same subject. I agree with Mark. You know, back in the 30s, back in the Depression, my great grandfather grew cabbages at the base of Storm Mountain, now Mount Warner, and sold to the local Safeway store. And that was a different system. And since then, we've created a food system that has created the most choice we've ever had, the most abundancy of food we've ever had, and the safest food we've ever had. But that system has only worked because we've got these consolidated market chains that we've created. When you've got 80% of the slaughtered cattle in the country going through 4 processors, when that starts to unravel, it unravels really quick. So Michele said it early, and we've said it often. If you want to change that, buy local. But as Michele said earlier too, you can't just do it now. You've got to make a commitment, because we have to invest in some infrastructure here. Then we're blessed that we have 2 USDA facilities to process cattle in Moffat County, both in Brothers and Mountain Meats. But we don't have storage to help facilitate getting that product here. There are a lot of different issues that we have that we could invest in if people would make a long-term commitment to purchasing our products. And I'll say, Lisa, that Derek did a great article here a week or so ago about this very issue in the Steamboat pilot. And one of the comments I read from a community member, very well-meaning community member, was, is this a time, do we have local cattle that can be slaughtered and capacity that people can start doing that? That's not how we're set up right now. But Patrick and Justin both could maybe justify holding back some steers or some heifers this year and fattening those next year if they knew they had someone who was going to buy those at the other end. They can't justify that now. So make that commitment. Make that commitment to buying microgreens from Mark, any of our other producers. You can't beat them on quality, but you might have to pay a little more. And if that's worth it to you, which I think it is, to have a well-functioning local food system, put your money where your mouth is.
Thank you, Todd. So we're down to the end. And so I'll give you guys each an opportunity to just say something in closing that maybe you didn't get to say. So let us start with Justin.
I just want to say thanks for bringing us on here and letting us kind of voice a little bit what's going on around here. This is my very first Zoom meeting I've done here, so I've been supposed to be most of them, but I haven't been doing it because I've been out working. So I've really enjoyed it, and I like to always educating people, letting everybody know how we're getting along with everything. And I mean, I do things old school, we kind of the other way, but I'm going to throw my deal over to Mark. I met him a few years ago, never had a microgreen, never knew what it stuff was, but we do a camping trip every year, and I look forward to what he's going to bring to us each year to try out. And it's always something that's good and interesting all the time. But thanks for having us on. We do appreciate everything.
Thank you, Justin. Patrick, what would you say in closing?
I just want to say thank you again for the opportunity. I'll just follow what Justin said there. Thank you for the opportunity, and support your local ag. Is just, even if you're out there appreciating it as you're going out and viewing and enjoying the view, just remember that you're appreciating the local ag doing that.
Great, thank you. Let's go to Mark.
Well, thank you, and really our whole local community, because my whole company was built by local community support. So that's been huge. And I offer an invitation. With our blank canvas, I love to play with others. So you can shoot me an email, timmanso36@gmail.com if you want to come out and play. And we've got a lot of new space and. Down in Phippsburg, and love some help and some input. So, just get your hands dirty.
Thank you, Mark. Todd.
I'll just say thank you. This is one of those neat platforms that makes our community the special place it is. Thanks, Lisa and Winnie, and to the city and Pilot both.
Thank you. And Michele, we'll let you close us out.
Oh, thanks. I realized I forgot to mention a couple things. So if folks that are watching are interested in coming in to shop the local market, we're at corner of 8th and Oak, 743 Oak Street is our address, the old Photo Express house. There is no more film processing here, in case anyone's wondering. It's just local food. The website is CAA Market. You can just go and search that and you'll find it. And the last thing I did want to mention, a couple folks have asked us about the physical farmers market on Saturdays. That program is run by Main Street Steamboat Springs, a separate organization, but we are working with them not only for the physical market and having a presence there, but then also seeing if we can get more of the food producers listed on the online market and trying to kind of connect those two so that there'll be options for people to buy local food. In addition to the physical farmers market, the online, go directly to Mark, go to the farm stands, 4-H, directly to producers, all those things.
Thank you, Michele. And again, thank you all so much. I know everyone is really busy, so thank you for taking this time to speak to the community. And it made me realize that we just need to continue to educate people. And that is the role of the newspaper in part. And so I pledge that we will continue to look for stories so that we can teach people what goes on the ranches and that we can learn from one another. And we hope to start up this News and Brews, and we have a theme, so we'll do that. We'll have one of our upcoming News and Brews be focused on ranching, and hopefully we can get you guys out and get people together talking. So again, thank you guys for your time. Thank you to everyone who watched this morning. We will continue this. We'll do another virtual town hall panel at 10:30 on Tuesday. I believe we will be talking to our public health leaders and commissioners about updates to what's going on with our public health orders. So, and I do believe we're also trying next week to get together a panel of seniors so that they can tell us what they're dealing with, not having a graduation and not having a prom and all of that. So again, thank you guys. Continue to send your questions to covid@steamboatsprings.net and to news@steamboatpilot.com. Thank you guys so much.